Lieutenant Jake Morrison stood at attention outside the diplomatic meeting room on Nexus 7 station. His uniform was pressed sharp, his weapon cleaned and ready. This was his third week as escort to Ambassador Zara Velthari of the Catherian Coalition. The job was supposed to be easy. Protect the alien diplomat during peace talks. Make sure nothing bad happened to her. Go home when it was over. But Jake had learned that nothing in space was ever easy. The Catherians were strange beings. Ambassador. Velthari looked almost human, but her skin was clear like glass, with a soft blue color underneath. Her eyes were huge and round, taking up half her face. They changed color based on how she felt. When she was happy, they glowed bright blue. When she was worried, they turned dark purple. When she was thinking hard during the meetings, they became silver like mirrors. Jake had been watching those eyes for 3 weeks now. He was starting to understand what each color meant. Right now, as she sat inside arguing with the other diplomats about trade routes and mining rights, her eyes were a steady green. That meant she was focused and determined. The peace talks were going well. The Catherian Coalition wanted to join the Galactic Trade Union. The humans wanted access to Catherian medical technology. Both sides were getting what they wanted. Everyone should have been happy, but space was full of people who did not want peace. The first sign of trouble was the lights. The normal white lighting in the corridor suddenly switched to flashing red. Jake's hand moved to his weapon before his brain even processed what was happening. Emergency lights meant danger. Then came the alarms. Loud, screaming sounds that echoed through the metal halls of the space station. The kind of sounds that meant people were about to die. Jake burst through the door of the meeting room. The other diplomats were standing around, looking confused. Some were asking questions in different alien languages. Others were checking their communication devices. Ambassador Velthari was different. Her eyes had gone pure white, which Jake had never seen before. She was staring at him with complete trust, waiting for him to tell her what to do. "We need to move," Jake said. "Now." He grabbed her arm gently, but firmly. Her skin felt cool against his hand, like touching smooth stone. She followed him without question as he led her out of the meeting room and into the chaos of the station's corridors. People were running everywhere. Humans, aliens, station workers, visitors. Everyone was trying to get to the escape pods or the docking bays where ships could take them away from whatever danger was coming. Jake's military training kicked in. He pulled out his handheld scanner and checked for the nearest safe route to the evacuation area. The scanner showed red blocks in several directions. Those were areas where fighting was already happening. "This way," he said, pulling the ambassador. Down a side corridor that his scanner showed as clear. They moved quickly but carefully. Jake kept his weapon ready and his eyes moving, checking every door and corner for threats. Behind him, Ambassador Velthari stayed close. She was breathing. Hard but not panicking. Her people might look fragile, but they were tougher than they appeared. "What is happening?" she asked as they hurried through the twisting passages of the station. "Separatists, most likely," Jake replied. "There are always groups that do not want peace." They probably decided to make a statement by attacking the talks. They turned a corner, and Jake saw what he had been dreading. 3 armed figures in black combat suits were ahead of them, blocking the path to the evacuation pods. Their weapons were already raised and pointed in their direction. "Human soldier," one of them called out. "Step away from the alien. We have no fight with you." Jake felt Ambassador Velthari's hand grip his arm tighter. Her eyes had gone dark purple, the color of fear. But she did not try to run or hide behind him. She stood straight and faced the threat with dignity. "I am afraid I cannot do that," Jake said calmly. He slowly moved his body between the ambassador and the attackers. "She is under my protection." The lead attacker laughed. "Your protection?" She is not even human. Why would you risk your life for an alien? Jake had asked himself that same question many times over the past 3 weeks. At first, this assignment had just been a job. Protect the diplomat, earn his. Pay, go home. But somewhere along the way, it had become more than that. Maybe it was the way Ambassador Velthari always said thank you when he opened a door for her. Maybe it was how she had spent hours learning about human customs, so she would not accidentally offend anyone during the talks. Maybe it was the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her hope for peace between their peoples. Or maybe it was simpler than that. Maybe it was just the right thing to do. Because she is a person, Jake said, and people protect people. The attackers raised their weapons. Jake could see the red glow of laser rifles charging up. He had maybe 2 seconds. Before they fired, time seemed to slow down. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. He could feel Ambassador Velthari's breath on his back. He could see the exact moment when the attackers decided to pull their triggers. Jake threw himself backward, wrapping his arms around the ambassador and spinning to put his body between her and the incoming laser fire. The first shot hit him in the chest, burning through his armor and into his flesh. The pain was like being stabbed with a white-hot knife. The second shot caught him in the shoulder as he fell. The third and fourth hits struck his back as he covered the ambassador with his body. Each laser blast felt like being hit by lightning. The smell of burning flesh and melted armor filled the air. But Jake's training did not stop just because he was hurt. Even as he fell, he was drawing his own weapon. Even as the pain tried to shut down his brain, he was returning fire. His shots were accurate despite his injuries. 2 of the attackers went down immediately. A third attacker tried to get a clear shot at the ambassador, but Jake rolled despite the agony in his body and put another laser blast center mass. The corridor fell silent except for the distant sound of alarms and the harsh sound of Jake's breathing. Ambassador Velthari was underneath him, her eyes wide with shock. But she was alive. She was unhurt. The laser shots that would have killed her had instead burned through Jake's body. "You are injured," she said, her voice shaking. "You are badly injured." Jake tried to stand, but his legs would not work properly. The laser wounds were serious. He could feel his strength leaving him, but he had done his job. The ambassador was safe. "Can you walk?" he asked her. She nodded quickly. "Yes, but you cannot. You need medical help." "Help me up," Jake said. "We still need to get to the evacuation pods." Ambassador Velthari put her arm under his shoulder and helped him stand. Every movement sent fire through his wounds, but they managed to move forward. Step by step, they made their way through the station's corridors towards safety. By the time the rescue teams found them, Jake was barely conscious. The last thing he remembered was Ambassador Velthari holding his hand as the medics loaded him onto a stretcher. Her eyes were silver with tears, and she was saying something in her own language that sounded like a promise. Later, he would learn that she was promising to repay the debt she owed him. That in her culture, when someone saved your life at great cost to themselves, you were bound to care for them until they were whole again. But at that moment, all Jake knew was that he had done his job. The ambassador was safe. That was enough. Jake woke up to the sound of quiet beeping. His mouth felt dry as sand, and his whole body ached like he had been hit by a truck. The ceiling above him was white and clean, with soft lights that did not hurt his eyes. He was in a medical room somewhere, but he could not remember how he got there. Slowly, the memories came back. The attack on the station, the laser rifles, the burning pain as the shots hit him. Ambassador Velthari's frightened eyes as he fell on top of her. He tried to sit up, but his body would not cooperate. His chest was wrapped in thick bandages that felt strange against his skin. His arms were covered in more bandages, and when he tried to move his shoulder, sharp pain shot through him like electricity. You should not try to move yet. Jake turned his head toward the voice. Ambassador Velthari was sitting in a chair next to his bed. She looked tired. Her usually perfect hair was messy, and her diplomatic clothes were wrinkled like she had been sleeping in them. But her eyes were bright blue. The color he had learned meant relief and happiness. How long have I been asleep? Jake asked. His voice came out as a rough whisper. 3 days, she said. The doctors were worried you might not wake up. The laser wounds were very deep. Jake looked down at himself. His chest and arms were completely covered in white medical wrappings. He could feel similar bandages on his back. The places where the laser shots had hit him felt numb and strange. The other diplomats? He asked. Safe. The peace talks were completed successfully. The Cytherian coalition will join the Galactic. Trade union is planned. She paused and looked at her hands. Thanks to you. A doctor came into the room. He was an older human man with gray hair and kind eyes. He checked the machines next to Jake's bed and made notes on a tablet. Good to see you awake, Lieutenant, the doctor said. You gave us quite a scare. Those laser wounds went deep. But you are lucky to be alive. Will I be okay? Jake asked. The doctor's expression became more serious. You will live, and you will be able to return to duty eventually. But I need to be honest with you about the scars. Laser wounds are different from regular injuries. They burn the tissue in a way that makes healing difficult. Jake felt his stomach drop. What does that mean? It means you will have permanent scars where the laser shots hit you. Our medical technology can help the wounds heal, but we cannot make the scars disappear completely. I am sorry. Jake closed his eyes. He had seen other soldiers with laser scars before. They were thick and ugly, raised marks that never went away. Some soldiers wore them like medals, proof of their service. But Jake had never wanted to be one of them. I understand, he said quietly. After the doctor left, the room fell silent. Jake stared at the ceiling, thinking about what his life would be like now. Ambassador Velthari remained in her chair, but she seemed to be thinking about something important. Her eyes had changed to the silver color that meant she was making a decision. Lieutenant Morrison, she said finally. May I ask you something? Call me Jake. And yes, you can ask me anything. Why did you do it? Why did you take those laser shots for me? Jake thought about the question. It was the same thing the attackers had asked him right before they started shooting. Why risk his life for an alien? It was my job, he said. No. Ambassador Velthari shook her head. Your job was to escort me and keep me safe. You could have found cover and shot back at the attackers. You could have pulled me behind something to protect us both. But instead, you used your own body as a shield. That was not your job. That was your choice. Jake looked at her. Her eyes were bright green now, the color of curiosity and deep thinking. I guess I did not want to see you get hurt, he said. You are a good person. You work hard for peace. The galaxy needs people like you. And the galaxy needs people like you too, she said softly. People who are willing to sacrifice themselves for others. She stood up from her chair and walked to the window. Outside, Jake could see the stars and the distant shape of other ships moving through space. They were no longer on Nexus 7 station. They were somewhere else, somewhere safe. There is something I need to tell you, Ambassador Velthari said without turning around. Something about my people and our customs. What is it? She turned back to face him. Her eyes were now a deep purple. The color he had learned meant she was nervous or worried about something. Among the Cytherians, we have an old tradition. When someone saves your life at great cost to themselves, You owe them a life debt. This debt can only be repaid through personal service and care. Jake frowned. I do not understand. It means that I am responsible for your healing. Not just the medical treatment, but everything. I must personally make sure that you recover completely from the injuries you received protecting me. That is not necessary, Jake said quickly. I was just doing my job. No, you are not. Her voice became firm. And even if you were, it does not matter. You have permanent scars on your body because of me. In my culture, that means I am bound to you until those scars are properly cared for. Jake stared at her. You want to take care of me? I do not want to. I am required to. It is not a choice. She paused. But I also want to. You saved my life. The least I can do is help you heal. But you are an ambassador. You have important work to do. You cannot waste time playing nurse to a soldier. Ambassador Velfari walked back to his bedside. Her eyes were now gold, a color Jake had never seen before. It was warm and determined at the same time. Listen to me carefully, Jake Morrison. You are not a waste of time. What you did for me was the most important thing anyone has ever done. You gave me the chance to finish the peace talks. You gave me the chance to help my people join the galaxy. You gave me my life. She sat down in the chair again and leaned forward. My government has already been informed. They understand the situation. I have been given permission to stay with you until your healing is complete. How long will that take? I do not know. Laser scars are difficult to treat. It could be weeks. It could be months. Jake felt overwhelmed. The most important diplomat in the Catherian coalition wanted to spend weeks or months taking care of him. It seemed impossible. I cannot ask you to do that, he said. You are not asking. I am telling you what will happen. Her voice was gentle but firm. Tomorrow, we will be transferred to a better medical facility on Earth. I have already arranged for the best doctors and the most advanced treatment. Why Earth? Because human medicine understands human bodies better than alien medicine does. And because I have been studying your medical texts for the past 3 days, I want to understand exactly how to help you heal. Jake looked at her with new eyes. This elegant, important diplomat had spent 3 days reading medical books while he was unconscious. She had arranged his transfer to the best facility available. She had gotten permission from her own government to put her career on hold to. Take care of him. I do not know what to say, he admitted. Say you will let me help you, she said simply. Say you will not try to be a tough soldier who does not need anyone. Say you will trust me to take care of you the way you took care of me. Jake felt something strange in his chest. Not pain from his wounds, but something warmer, something that felt like hope. Okay, he said quietly. I will let you help me. 4. The first time since he had woken up, Ambassador Velthari smiled. Her eyes turned bright blue, the color of happiness and relief. Good, she said. Then we will start tomorrow. I promise you, Jake Morrison, that I will do everything in my power to make sure you heal properly. As she settled back into her chair to continue her watch over him, Jake realized that his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. The medical facility on Earth was nothing like the military hospitals Jake had seen before. The walls were painted in soft colors, and real windows showed views of green trees and blue sky. His room was large and comfortable, with a bed that adjusted to support his injured body and machines that monitored his healing without making noise. Ambassador Velfari had kept her promise. She had arranged for him to have the best care available. But what surprised Jake most was that she had also arranged to stay in the room next to his. When he asked her about it, she simply said that proper care required constant attention. I cannot help you heal, if I am living somewhere else," she explained as she unpacked a large bag full of medical supplies and books. "Besides, I need to learn everything about human medicine if I am going to do this right." Jake watched her organize bottles and containers with the same careful precision she used for diplomatic work. She had changed out of her formal ambassador clothes and now wore simple human clothing. She looked younger somehow and more relaxed. "You really do not have to do this," Jake said, for what felt like the 100th time. She looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. Today they were a steady green, the color of determination. "Yes, I do," she said. "And I want to. Stop trying to talk me out of it." The first few days were awkward. Jake was not used to being helpless, and he was definitely not used to having someone as important as Ambassador Velthari bringing him meals and checking his bandages. She was gentle but thorough, examining each wound carefully and taking notes about how they were healing. "The laser burns on your chest are responding well to treatment," she said on the 4th day as she changed his bandages. "But the ones on your back are more stubborn. The doctors think it is because you were moving when those shots hit you." Jake tried not to wince as she cleaned the wounds. Her touch was soft, but the injuries were still tender. "Moving because I was trying to keep you alive." "Yes, and now I am trying to keep you comfortable while you heal." She applied a cool gel to one of the scars. "This is a Catherian healing compound mixed with human medicine. It should help reduce the pain." Jake felt the relief immediately. The constant burning sensation in his back faded to a dull ache. "That is amazing," he said. "How did you learn to make that?" "I have been reading medical texts every night," she replied. "Human medicine is very different from Catherian healing, but there are ways to combine them. Your doctors have been very helpful in teaching me." As the days passed, Jake began to look forward to their healing sessions. Not just because the treatments helped with the pain, but because it was the only time they really talked. Ambassador Velthari would tell him about her home planet while she worked on his scars. "Catheria Prime is mostly covered in oceans," she said one morning as she examined the laser wound on his shoulder. "Our cities are built on floating platforms that move with the tides. The water is so clear you can see the bottom, even when it is very deep." "It sounds beautiful," Jake said. "It is, but it is also very peaceful. Sometimes too peaceful." She paused in her work. "I became a diplomat because I wanted to see the rest of the galaxy. I wanted to meet other species and learn about their cultures. But I never expected to learn so much about sacrifice and bravery." Jake felt uncomfortable with the praise. "I just did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly. "You did what a good person would do. Not everyone is a good person." She moved to work on the scars on his chest. These were the deepest ones, the shots that had hit him first when he threw himself in front of her. The skin was still red and angry looking, even after 2 weeks of treatment. "These are going to take longer to heal," she said quietly. "I am sorry." "Why are you sorry?" "Because they exist because of me. Every scar on your body is there because you protected me. Every time you feel pain, it is pain you should not have to feel." Jake looked at her face as she worked. Her eyes had turned that deep purple color that meant she was sad or worried. "Zara," he said, using her first name for the first time. "Look at me." She glanced up, surprised by the change in his tone. "I chose to take those shots," he said. "Nobody forced me. I saw what was going to happen, and I decided that I would rather be hurt than watch you die. That was my choice." "But why?" she asked. "I am not human. I am not even from your world. We had only known each other for 3 weeks." Jake thought about how to explain it. How could he tell her that in those 3 weeks he had come to respect her dedication to peace? How could he describe the way her eyes lit up when she talked about bringing different species together. How could he make her understand that protecting innocent people was not about species or planets, but about doing what was right? 3 weeks was enough, he said finally. Enough to know that you are someone worth protecting. Her eyes changed to that warm gold color he had seen before. She returned to her work, but he could see a small smile on her face as the 3rd week of treatment began. Jake noticed that the scars were starting to look different. They were still there, but they were flatter and less red. The constant pain was fading to occasional twinges. Most importantly, he could move more freely without feeling like his skin was going to split open. You are getting better, Zara said with satisfaction as she applied the morning treatment. The healing compounds are working exactly as they should. Thanks. To you, Jake said. I do not think I would be healing this well with just human medicine. The doctors here are very good. I am just adding a few things that work well with human biology. But Jake knew it was more than that. Zara approached his healing like she approached everything else in her life, with complete dedication and attention to detail. She kept careful records of which treatments worked best. She adjusted the healing compounds based on how his body responded. She made sure he ate the right foods and got enough rest. Most importantly, she never made him feel like he was a burden. Can I ask you something? Jake said one day as she worked on the scar across his back. Of course. What will happen when I am completely healed? Will you go back to your diplomatic work? Zara's hands paused for a moment before continuing their gentle work. I do not know, she said honestly. My people expect me to return to Cytheria Prime eventually. There is always more diplomatic work to be done, and I will probably get assigned to another mission somewhere else in the galaxy. Probably. They both fell silent, thinking about the future. Jake realized that he did not want their time together to end. Over the past 3 weeks, Zara had become more than just the diplomat he had protected. She had become his friend. Maybe something more than a friend, though he was not sure if that was possible between a human and a Cytherian. Whatever happens, Idra said softly, I want you to know that these weeks have been important to me. Taking care of you has taught me things about myself that I never knew. What kind of things? That I am capable of more than just negotiating treaties. That I can actually help someone heal, not just with medicine, but with care and attention. That sometimes the most important work is not done in meeting rooms, but in quiet moments like this. Jake felt that warm feeling in his chest again. You have definitely helped me heal, in more ways than you know. As Zara finished the treatment and began putting away her supplies, Jake watched her with new understanding. She had given up weeks of her important career to take care of him. She had learned human medicine from scratch. She had dedicated herself completely to his healing. And somewhere along the way, she had healed something inside him too. Something he had not even realized was broken until she started fixing it. By the start of the 4th week, Jake could walk around his room without help. The deep laser burns on his chest had faded to thin pink lines, and the wounds on his arms were barely visible unless someone looked closely. The scar on his back still bothered him sometimes, but even that was healing faster than the doctors had expected. Zara had been right about combining human and Cytherian medicine. The treatments she created worked better than anything the hospital had tried before. But Jake was starting to realize that her care went beyond just mixing the right medicines together. Every morning, she would examine each scar with the same careful attention she had shown on the first day. Her touch was gentle and sure, and she always explained what she was doing and why. When he was in pain, she would adjust the treatment. When he felt discouraged about how long the healing was taking, she would remind him of how much progress he had made. You are healing remarkably well, Dr. Phillips told them during his weekly visit. I have never seen laser scars respond to treatment this effectively. Whatever you are doing, Ambassador, keep doing it. Zara smiled at the praise, but Jake could see something else in her eyes. They had turned a soft silver color, which he had. Learned meant she was thinking about something that made her sad dot after the doctor left. Jake asked her about it. What is wrong? You should be happy. The doctor said I am healing well. Zara sat down in the chair next to his bed. She had spent so many hours in that chair over the past month that Jake thought of it as her chair now. I am happy about your healing, she said. But I received a message from my government today. They want me to return to Catheria Prime soon. Jake felt his stomach drop. He had known this day would come, but he was not ready for it. How soon? He asked. They want me back within 2 weeks. There is a new crisis that requires my attention. The Valderon Empire is threatening to leave the trade agreement we just negotiated. Jake knew about the Valderons. They were a proud, warlike species that changed their minds about treaties as often as they changed their clothes. If they pulled out of the trade agreement, it could undo all the work Zara had accomplished. You have to go, he said, even though the words hurt. To say, that is too important to ignore. But your healing is not complete, Zara protested. The scar on your back still needs weeks of treatment, and some of the smaller scars are still tender. I will be fine. The doctors here can take care of the rest. Zara shook her head firmly. No, I made a promise to care for you until every scar was properly healed. I will not break that promise. But your work is more important than my scars. Her eyes flashed bright gold. A color Jake had learned meant she was getting angry. Do not say that. Do not ever say that your well-being is less important than my work. She stood up and began pacing around the room. You risked your life too. Save me. You have permanent scars on your body because of me. Taking care of you is not less important than anything else I could be doing. Jake watched her pace. Her hands were moving as she talked, something she only did when she was very upset about something. Besides, she continued, what kind of diplomat would I be if I abandoned someone who needed my help? What kind of person would that make me? A practical one, Jake said quietly. The kind who understands that sometimes you have to choose between what you want to do and what you need to do. Zara stopped pacing and looked at him. Her eyes had changed to deep purple, the color of sadness. Is that what you think? That I am only taking care of you because I have to? Jake realized he had said the wrong thing. No, I did not mean it like that. Then what did you mean? Jake struggled to find the right words. The truth was complicated. Over the past month, he had started to feel things for Zara that went far beyond gratitude. He looked forward to their morning healing sessions, not just because they made him feel better, but because he enjoyed talking with her. He liked hearing about her homeworld and her dreams for peace in the galaxy. He liked the way she concentrated when she was mixing his treatments, and the way her eyes changed color when she was happy or excited. But she was an ambassador from an advanced alien civilization, and he was just a soldier. When she was finished healing him, she would go back to her important work, and he would go back to his military assignments. They lived in different worlds, literally and figuratively. I meant that you have important things to do, he said finally, and I do not want to be the reason you cannot do them. Zara sat back down in her chair. She reached out and took his hand in both of hers. Her skin was cool and smooth, and he could feel the slight tremor that meant she was nervous. Jake, can I tell you something? Something I have not told anyone else, of course. These past 4 weeks have been the most meaningful of my life. Jake stared at her. What do you mean? I have spent years negotiating treaties and making speeches about peace and cooperation between species. But it was all just words. I never really understood what it meant, until I started taking care of you." Her eyes were bright blue now, the color of sincerity and deep emotion. "When I tend to your scars, I am not just applying medicine. I am learning what it means to truly care for someone. When I see you getting stronger every day, I feel proud in a way I never felt about any treaty I signed. When you smile because the pain is less than yesterday, I feel more accomplished than I ever felt after any diplomatic success." Jake felt his heart beating faster. Zara ... double quotes. "I know this is probably not appropriate," she continued. "You are human, and I am Cytherian. You are a soldier, and I am a diplomat. We live completely different lives. But I need you to know that taking care of you has not been a burden or an obligation. It has been a privilege." She squeezed his hand gently. "So when my government tells me to come home, and you tell me that my work is more important than your healing, it makes me sad. Because you have become more important to me than any treaty or negotiation ever could be." Jake looked into her eyes and saw something he had not expected to see. The same feelings he had been trying to hide were reflected back at him. She cared about him the same way he cared about her. "I do not want you to go," he said quietly. "I do not want to go either." They sat in silence for a moment, holding hands and trying to figure out what to do next. "Maybe there is another way," Jake said finally. "What do you mean?" "You said your government wants you back in 2 weeks. What if you could finish my healing in that time?" Zara frowned. "That would require much more intensive treatment. Instead of 1 session per day, we would need to do 3 or 4. It would be difficult and probably painful for you. I can handle pain. The question is, would it work?" Zara was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Her eyes turned silver as she considered the possibilities. "It might work," she said slowly. "If we use stronger healing compounds and increase the frequency of treatments, we could probably accelerate your healing significantly. But it would mean spending almost every waking hour focused on your recovery. Would you be willing to try?" She smiled, and her eyes turned bright gold. "Yes," she sighed. "But only if you promise me something." "What?" "Promise me that when your healing is complete, we will find a way to stay in touch. Promise me that this will not be goodbye forever." Jake squeezed her hand. "I promise," he said. "Whatever it takes." The next 2 weeks were the hardest and most intense of Jake's life. Zara had not been joking when she said the accelerated healing would be difficult. She woke him up at dawn every day for the first treatment session, then another session at noon, another in the evening, and sometimes a 4th one late at night, if she thought his body could handle it. The stronger healing compounds burned when she applied them. The intensive treatments left him exhausted and sore. But Jake endured it all without complaint, because he could see the results. The scars were fading faster than anyone had thought possible. More importantly, he got to spend almost every waking hour with Zara. Between treatments, they talked about everything. She told him about growing up on a floating city, learning to read the ocean currents and predict the weather by the color of the water. He told her about his childhood on a farming colony, helping his parents grow food for the other settlers, and dreaming of seeing the stars. "I never thought I would leave my home planet," Jake said on the 10th day as Zara worked on the last stubborn scar on his back. "My parents wanted me to stay and help with the farm, but I wanted to see what else was out there." "And what did you find?" Zara asked, carefully applying the healing gel. "War, mostly. Fighting and violence, and people who could not get along." He paused. "Until I met you." Zara's hands stopped moving for a moment. "What do you mean?" "You showed me that there are people working to make things better. People who spend their lives trying to bring peace instead of war. It made me remember why I became a soldier in the first place." "Why did you become a soldier?" To protect people like you. People who are trying to make the galaxy a better place. Zara finished with his back and moved around to check the scars on his chest. They were barely visible now, just thin silver lines that caught the light when he moved. These look perfect, she said with satisfaction. The tissue has healed completely. There should be no more pain or sensitivity. Jake looked down at his chest. A month ago, it had been covered in angry red wounds that hurt with every breath. Now he could barely see where the laser shots had hit him. You did it, he said with amazement. You actually did it. Zara smiled, but her eyes were silver with sadness. We did it. You healed faster than I thought possible, because you were determined to get better. I was determined because I did not want you to leave with your work unfinished. My work is finished, she said quietly. All of your scars have healed properly. The life debt has been repaid. Jake felt a hollow sensation in his stomach. He had known this moment would come, but he was not ready for it. So what happens now? He asked. Now I pack my things and take a transport ship back to Catheria Prime, and you get discharged from the medical facility and return to active duty. Just like that? Just like that. They stared at each other for a long minute. Jake wanted to say something, but he did not know what. How do you tell someone that you do not want them to leave? How do you ask someone to give up their important career to stay with you? I should start packing, Zara said finally. My transport leaves tomorrow morning. She started gathering her medical supplies and putting them back in their containers. Jake watched her work with the same careful precision she had shown when treating his wounds. But he could see that her hands were shaking slightly. Zara, he said. Yes? Thank you. For everything. I know you did not have to take such good care of me. She stopped packing and looked at him. Her eyes were bright blue, but there were tears in them. Yes, I did have to, she said. It was the most important thing I have ever done. That night, Jake could not sleep. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling and thinking about what his life would be like after Zara left. He would go back to his military unit and get assigned to another mission, maybe escorting another diplomat or guarding another space station. But it would not be the same. Nothing would ever be the same. Around midnight, he heard a soft knock on his door. Come in, he said. Zara entered the room. She was wearing simple clothes and carrying a small bag. Her eyes were red like she had been crying. I could not sleep, she said. I wanted to see you one more time before I left. Jake sat up in bed. What time is your transport? 6 a.m. I have to leave here in 4 hours. She sat down in her chair next to his bed, the chair she had spent so many hours in over the past 6 weeks. I have something for you, she said, reaching into her bag. She pulled out a small container filled with the healing gel she had been using on his scars. This is the last of the compound I made specifically for you, she said. If any of your scars ever bother you again, apply a small amount and they should feel better. Jake took the container. It was warm from being in her bag, and it smelled like the flowers from her home planet. Thank you, he said. I will keep it always. I have something else too. She reached into her bag again and pulled out a small device. This is a long-range communicator. It can send messages across the galaxy instantly. Jake looked at the device. It was sleek and elegant, obviously Catherian technology. I programmed my personal frequency into it, Zara continued. If you ever want to talk to me, just activate it and it will connect directly to my communicator. Are you sure? What if someone else intercepts the messages? This is a diplomatic channel. It is completely secure. She paused. Besides, what we have to say to each other is nobody else's business. Jake held the communicator carefully. It was small enough to fit in his pocket, but it represented a connection to Zara that could span any distance. I will message you every day, he promised. And I will answer every message, she replied. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside the window, Jake could see the first hints of dawn beginning to lighten the sky. I should go, Zara said finally. I still need to finish packing. She stood up from her chair, but then hesitated. Jake, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think we will see each other again? I mean, in person, not just through messages. Jake thought about it. The galaxy was huge, and their lives were pulling them in different directions. But he had learned that sometimes impossible things happened. Sometimes a human soldier met an alien diplomat. Sometimes they saved each other's lives. Sometimes they fell in love across the vast emptiness of space. I think we will, he said. I do not know when or where, but I think we will find each other. Again, Zara smiled, and for the first time in days, her eyes turned bright gold. I think so too, she said. She leaned down and kissed him gently on the forehead. Her lips were soft and cool, and Jake felt like he had been blessed. Goodbye, Jake Morrison, she whispered. Thank you for showing me what it means to truly care for someone. Goodbye, Zara Valthari, he replied. Thank you for healing me, in more ways than one. After she left, Jake lay back down in his bed and held the communicator against his chest. The scars were gone, but the connection they had created would last forever. Somewhere across the galaxy, Zara was beginning her journey home. But she was taking a part of him with her, just as she had left a part of herself with him. The healing was complete, but their story was just beginning.